morning, 605 Speaks viewers. It's finally happened. 2 years into my project, and part of my bucket list of ultimate goals is here. Today, we're going to talk to a librarian. I'm so excited. I've been so excited that one of my close, lifelong childhood friends who lives in Nebraska now, she has become a librarian, and I'm like, you need to move back so I can round out my project. But even better, I found through Jerry that I just recently recorded a 605 Speaks with. We've been put in contact with a real live official South Dakota librarian. So I've got so many questions. I'm so excited. So we're going to bring onto the screen right away Dana from the Yankton Community Library.
Hi, I'm so excited that I can help you achieve your bucket list items.
I don't know if you knew that this was like a pivotal moment for me.
That's awesome. We like making dreams come true at the library.
There we go. There we go. So we talked a little bit before we got started here. You are in Yankton, not a South Dakota native. You're from right across the border originally in Nebraska.
Yep.
And right there in the Yankton, Nebraska area, there is a lot of going back and forth, right? Yankton is kind of the central shopping point for a lot of people right across the border, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I grew up in Hardington, but I mean, we always came to Yankton very regularly for shopping and activities and things like that. So I've been familiar with Yankton my whole life.
So how does one come to being you look very young. I won't put anybody on the spot about the age, but you look like tomorrow you have to report in for 8th grade algebra. You look really young. How at such a young age does someone reach the highest of all pedestals? How did you end up to be a librarian?
I've always loved libraries. Even when I was young, I loved being in libraries. Actually, my older sister worked at a library, and I realize now that when I would go and visit her on the weekend that she'd make me do some of her work for her and like shelve books and things like that. But I've always loved it. And I got my first library job when I was in Sioux Falls, and I just fell in love with helping people. I feel like that's always been a passion of mine. And in libraries, you get to meet so many different people and you get so many different um, questions that you get to kind of problem solve your way through every day. And it's just a passion of mine and I love it, and nowhere else I'd rather be.
Awesome. I don't know. It was only for a tiny amount of time. There was a PBS show with Marion the librarian. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but where she threw things in and out popped a book. And yes. That is my vision of librarians, is they're just going to take things from the community, take things from the world, throw them in their magic machine, and out pops the books. So I love that it's community library, because I do really think libraries they're kind of, like you said, they're not just going to get a book or a magazine. They are kind of a community center. I know as technology grew, that became the place for people to get internet access and computer access and go and print things and all that. What is something that your library provides for the community that maybe people don't realize is there?
I think there's a lot of things, and one of the library staff here, she said one of her favorite things to do is surprise people with services we offer that they didn't realize we offer. We do test proctoring here, so we have a lot of people that are going to college in different towns, and we will proctor their test here. We don't charge for that.
Are you considered like Pearson VUE for the Pearson VUE testing site?
I don't think so. I don't know what that means, so I think no. But we work like with USD and just schools all over, and so we work with their testing center, and we're just an official proctor for them then, so people can come in and do their online tests and things here, and we help facilitate that so they can go to school and not have to do all that extra driving when they don't need to. So that's a big thing. We have a notary here at the library. We do that for free. We have lots of ebooks. And so I think any kind of reading is good. I support any kind of reading all the time, but there's so many people that tell me like, "Oh, I have this subscription for audiobooks," and it's like the library offers so many audiobooks for free. Come get your library card and check out what we have.
Yes.
So, yeah, lots of surprises all the time.
What if somebody, you just mentioned that September coming up in just a few minutes, it feels like August just flew by, but September is library card sign up month.
Yes.
Does it have an
So
official banner name? I'm just kind of throwing words out.
it is library card sign up month, and they have a spokesperson every year, and they have a theme every year. Um, you might have to help me. The spokesperson this year is the gal from that was in Frozen. She sang yes.
Oh,
Um, I
that's
cannot.
that's a big deal to getting young, like little kidlets, to learn about their library.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Um, but we just kind of try to focus on some of the things that people don't know we offer at the library and really try to encourage people to come in and get a library card and utilize those resources that are right there for them to have.
now if they want to come in and have the notary notarize something, or have a test proctored, or have use the internet, what services in your library require you to have a library card, and what services just require you to be there?
So, if you have a library card, you can check out books and DVDs, physical items from the library, and you can check out ebooks. So that's really the advantage of having a library card.
Mhm.
However, you don't have to have a library card to come to all the programs that we have. You can use our computers and technology without a card. You can do the notary without, you do need a card for proctoring. It's just one of the
It's one
rules
of
that
those
we
proof
have.
of who
So,
you are.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
part of what proctor is. So
yes. But yeah, I mean, and people are just welcome to come in and hang out with us. We have lots of toys and things in the kids area. So a lot of times we have people that are just passing through town or, um, grandparents that maybe have their grandkids for the weekend or for a couple weeks during the summer, and they love coming in and having some other activities for their kids to do.
awesome, awesome. What does it require to sign up for a library card? What do I need to bring in? Do I need a passport, my ancestry.com DNA? What do I got to do to get a library card? Do I need to be a resident in your town?
So everybody needs a photo ID and then a separate proof of address. So if you live within city limits, the card is free. And then there are fees if you're outside of city limits, but in the county is $20 a year. And if you're outside of the county, it's $40 a year. But we can break that down into smaller payments and things too. So we really try to work with people to give them access. And we do 30-day trial cards too. So if you're outside of city limits and you have that fee, but you want to make sure you're really going to use the library
Right.
first, you can get a trial card and see if you like it and if you want to go beyond that 30 days.
And what's an example of proof of address other than a photo ID?
You could bring us a piece of mail. A lot of people use check blanks or car registration because that's something that they have on them usually.
Oh, and that's a good idea,
Um,
because a lot of people, I mean, my bill pay is online. My junk mail, that physical mail that I get, often says to resident. Like, I don't
yeah,
get a lot of physical mail anymore, and I
yeah,
don't, you know, like you said, if I walked in, you're only carrying your ID that you always need, not other things. So
yeah.
car registration, that's a good idea.
We do also allow if people have something online, like a bank statement or a bill or something that has their address on it, we allow them to show us something online too. So
Oh,
we
there we
realize
go.
that's kind of the way of the world right now. So
It's
we try to work
because
with
yeah, I
people.
can access lots of proof of my address on my phone, on my apps
Yeah.
and things. What about for kiddos? What if an 8-year-old rolls up on their big wheel and says, "You know what? I'm here. I need a library card. Hook me up, Dana." What do
Sure.
you do?
Well, they have to have a parent or guardian with them up to 13. And so the parent or guardian would do that. They would have to show the photo ID and proof of address, and then we can sign their child up. The parent doesn't have to have a card. If they want to just get their kid a card, they can certainly do that. And sometimes we have kids that come in that it's hard for them to get a parent or a guardian to come in with them.
Hmm.
So we always let them. know, that they're welcome here. They can use our computers. They can read things in the library, if they don't have someone that can come in with them. But we still really try to help out. There's also, I don't know if you're familiar with the little free libraries that are kind of around town.
Yes, yes.
So we're working on actually putting a list together of the little free libraries that are around us, and we also have Big Red Bookshelf in our town, which is a United Way project. And so those bookshelves are in different businesses and areas in town that people can go and just take a book that they want to. So we want to encourage reading wherever we can, but we still have to have some rules and guidelines in place.
Right,
So,
right. Because there's got to be a system of organization.
yep,
So what if a 13 to 18-year-old comes in? They don't have their parent or guardian. They also don't have would a student ID count as a photo ID?
yep. Yep. So they have to be 14 to 18. They can come in on their own and do that. So a student ID would work. Again, sometimes if they sign into like their school account or whatever, we can see their address and things on there.
Oh, yeah.
Um, if, if they're, sometimes if they could bring a parent's piece of mail or something that would show their address, like we really try to work with people as much as we can. And that address verification, we we really look at that because of the different pay scales, so that we can verify where they're at if they are in the county that they need to pay the fee or
Right,
outside.
right,
So
right.
yeah.
Well, and I know I feel like libraries in America are one of the ultimate safe spaces, safe places that you can go and have your God. You can go and you can just be a kid, and you can almost get tricked into learning and be comfortable and whatnot. Um, but yeah, if there's I mean, I think you guys would probably, if you found out a kid was pedal biking from 40 miles away, you'd probably be like, bro, let's teach you about ebooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's probably some advantages too that the kids don't even think about to identifying, well, where are you at in relation to this library? Does
Mhm.
Yankton only have one library location?
Yep, we just have one library here. Mount Marty University is in town and they have a library in their school. But otherwise, this is the only public library in
Community
Yankton.
library.
Hmm.
Do you guys ever work with the schools, with school libraries, where like maybe you send out a flyer to all the parents and say, you know what, on September 15th, we're going to have a library in your school building. If you want your kid to get a free library card, send them with the following information. And like one of you just sits there and does the signups.
We have not done that yet, but that's a great idea. We share a lot of our program information with the school librarians, and so they've been wonderful about putting our posters up in the library and passing that info on to the kids. We also last summer tried to do kind of a big campaign where tried to get all the middle schoolers to get library cards, and we did work with the middle school librarian, and they could send their information to her and she could pass it on to us to get them library cards. So we've done it before that way.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I think maybe if we went in sometime like parent teacher conferences or something, if they'd let us go in and have
Have
a
a
table there,
table
that would
that
be a great
parents can
idea.
stop at, because yeah, there might be kids that they could get to the library on foot or on the bus or whatever, but you're
Mhm.
right, with parents work schedules and things like that, bringing mom and dad along might be tough. But yeah, if there was a because I was thinking more like in Sioux Falls too, like if you had a kid showing up at library X and identifying the address in the librarian saying, did you know we also have a library that's only 2 blocks from your house?
Yeah,
And them going, oh wow, no, I
yeah,
know about this one for whatever reason. But yeah, just to make it in the forefront of the parents' minds, that this is your kids could access this, especially with the ebooks. I don't think people realize that
yeah,
um, that they could hook a kid up,
yeah.
and grown-ups.
And grown-ups. The schools, I think pretty much throughout South Dakota, but I know the schools in Yankton too, they do have access to ebooks there. And it's a little bit different program for them, so they can get multiple copies of the same book, like if kids are doing a project and they're all supposed to read the same book. They can do a little bit more of that kind of thing, but they're also limited on what they
Right.
can get. So,
Right.
yeah, I think having more access. And another thing I think is a really valuable resource that a lot of people don't know about is all the databases that we have available. So I think a lot of homework help there online that I don't believe people are using to the full advantage, but there's just a lot of history things. There's World Book databases. There's um, places where you can find professional journal articles and things like that all for free. So
Right. And
that
you can know then, I mean, like anybody can Google, but you can know then that your source has been vetted. This
yes,
isn't a Wikipedia that maybe Jane Doe put in
yep,
the intel when really we should have got it from Sarah Jane or something like that.
yep,
So, the accuracy of the information is to the best of everyone's ability.
yes,
We know that history is always written by the winners, but
yeah.
yeah. So what about you talked a little bit about different kinds of programming. What are some of the programs and are they all ages?
Yeah, we do have programs for all ages. We do regular story time, so that's kind of like preschool, toddler preschool age that we do offer 3 story time sessions a week. We offer a program called Stay and Play. So that's one of my favorite things. We just put out a bunch of toys and kids' activities, and it's kind of an unstructured program that parents can bring their kids to and they can explore different toys. But also, I think it's a great resource to meet other families, other kids, other
Right.
parents, and interact and socialize that way. So that's a fun thing that we do for preschool, toddler age. We do after school programs every Thursday. So that's kind of K through 5 and rotate through crafts and STEAM activities and Legos. Legos are a big hit all the time.
I know what STEAM stands for, but I want you to tell the public what is STEAM.
STEAM is science, technology, engineering, let's see, art, and mathematics. I had to like make sure I'm spelling it right there,
I
but
know because which overlaps with a lot of people are becoming familiar with STEM,
mhm,
but this is adding the art.
yep,
Yeah, which and I'm someday eventually it's going to probably be we're going to figure out a way to get music in there.
yeah.
So.
Sometimes I've heard it as stream too, and adding R in there for reading, but we figure everything else we're doing is reading, so we focus
Right,
on STEAM sometimes. So,
right.
yeah. One thing that's coming up that I'm super excited about, we haven't tried this yet, but we are going to do a Halloween swap this year. So we are going to have a week where we're going to ask people to bring in costumes that their kids no longer fit into, Halloween decorations they're not interested in anymore. Every item they bring in, they'll get a coupon. And then we'll kind of set up a store. So the following week, they can come in and redeem their coupons for costumes and things that are new to them. So we're excited to
That's
see how that'll work.
awesome.
Yeah.
Halloween is it's my second favorite holiday after my birthday. I love
Yeah.
Halloween. I love it. Spooky vision,
Yes.
everything. That's
Yes.
that's so cool. What about does your library have a bookmobile?
We do not have a bookmobile. No.
And
We do uh it's not a bookmobile, but we do outreach. And so we deliver books to daycares in town and we do like little story times with them too. So we'll bring a a bin of books to them so they can rotate through different stories and things. They are always excited to find the new books and we'll do a little story time with them. And then we also once a month do an outreach for elderly and homebound patrons. So we
really,
go to the nursing homes. We have gone to people's homes before and done drop offs, like if they've had surgery or an injury or something where they just temporarily can't really get around, we'll bring them books to their homes. So we do that without a bookmobile, but we still have that outreach program.
outreach.
Hmm.
How big is your staff? How many librarians?
We have 14 people on our staff. 8 of them are full time. And so I think we just have such a great team right now. They're so good with customer service. They're so friendly. And I feel like they often go above and beyond trying to help people. So really, I think that's what it's all about. I think it's about people. And my philosophy is if you have good customer service and you're friendly and kind, that's what we're looking for. And all the other skills we can train you on as we go. But that's a really important focus for us.
What are the requirements to become a librarian? Is there like, can you get your PhD in library magic? Do you have to pass wizard school?
Most of the librarians already kind of have that magic built in, so we don't have a magic test to get in here, but I have a master's degree in library science, and so that's sometimes a requirement. As the director, that's a requirement for many places. Um, but
Well, tell
we,
us what's library science, libraryology. Is that where you have to like Dewey Decimal System is the part of the? I bet there's a proctored final.
yeah, yeah. So library science, we learned about cataloging, processing new items, selecting items. Some of my favorite classes were like readers advisory classes. So we 1 week we'd have to read a Western and then we'd read a romance and we'd read, and just talk about how to have a broad collection, a variety of things, and how to kind of link people with the books that they're looking for, or maybe that they don't even know they're
No
looking for
exist.
yet.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
I
all
do
kinds
this
of stuff.
I do this reading group thing called Lection, and I would love to have like 50 librarians show up at it and just blow everybody away. Because the whole point of that is to experience new genres and whatnot. And because I'm one of those people that falls in a pigeonhole. I want my true crime, I want my paranormals, I want, and you just, I think especially into adulthood, you kind of get where like there's sometimes there's so little time to yourself, you want to know for sure what you're getting into. I think we
Hmm.
forget that sometimes it's cool, especially in a safe thing like a book, it's cool to get into something new.
Yes.
There's not a lot of risk. If you don't like it, you put it down and pick up a different book.
Right. We often say you can't beat the price here, so it doesn't hurt to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that class, before that I never picked up a Western. I never thought that was anything I was interested in. But with this class too, they really recommended some really popular authors and really good authors, and I really enjoyed the Western that I read. And it was just kind of all about being open to different things, and just because you maybe don't prefer a certain thing, how to still find that good quality literature and reading for people to pass on to them. So any kind of reading we support, and doesn't matter. We don't judge what you read. We just love you to be reading. So
What's the that's safe for public consumption to put out and broadcast in the world? What's the strangest question anyone's ever come in and asked you to help them find or help them do? That whether it was library related or not. I mean, do people just pop in and they're like, "Hi, I don't know my way around Yankton. How do I find an ice cream parlor?"
oh yeah, all the time. All the time. Yeah, we've had stuff like that, and just like, where's this office? How do we get here? We've had people, recently somebody said, how many miles is it from here to Houston, Texas? We just get kind of random questions like that. One of, I don't know, just one of the most random, interesting things I got one time, I answered the phone and somebody asked me, um, what is the life expectancy of the gray squirrel? I was like, well, I don't know. I have to
They
look
were
it up.
deciding whether or not they want to let that one live in their yard one more season, or is it going to be 29 seasons?
I don't know. You never know how people come up with stuff sometimes, if they saw something on TV, or, just kind of a random thought. But
That's
you just
awesome.
never really know what you're going to get. So,
I know I recently used the Sioux Falls Library because I record, I'm in my house and I always just connect with people this way. And I live kind of out in the boondocks. And I recently did one of these with Phil Schreck and Tyler Roney from KSFY, or well, Dakota News Now Weather. And we needed a place to meet. And the library has study rooms. And I'm like, can I do this? I called and I'm like, so I want to do this weird thing. Do you have a room I can do that in? And they're like, yeah, we have study rooms. You could use that. And right away, the librarian, she said, they have three different names, and she's like, I'm going to put you in the create room. And I'm like, there we go. And it was perfect for what we needed to do. So
Yeah.
what what is something that your community of Yankton is could be improved if everybody read a book? What is something that you think Yankton is on needs to do to grow or change or be better? And you're like, if everybody came in and we all read a Western, or if everybody came in and gathered together and we read about this, it would plant a seed for the community.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one title or one thing, but I feel, and this isn't just Yankton, I think this is everybody everywhere. I think the more you read, the more you grow your empathy towards people in different situations, um, and different backgrounds, different cultures, things like that. I think it opens your eyes more to maybe what other people experience and go through. And some people like to see themselves reflected in books. And so I think it just kind of opens up your eyes that you're not alone. You know, there's people out there like you, and there's people out there that are very different than you. And so just getting more perspective that way, I think is awesome. And you always hear about like that you can travel in a book, you know, you can
Mhm.
go to different locations, you can go to different periods of time, you can go into like magical worlds and stuff. So I think sometimes people need that escape too from the world around them. So I think reading grows empathy, and I think it's a good escape from the everyday things that are not
Right,
always so exciting. So,
right. Give you a break from all the stuff going on.
mhm.
What is something that your library provides that people don't realize? I know a lot of people use their community libraries for genealogy research or for historic research about the area they're in. What are some things, resources like that, that your library has that for the Yankton area?
Sure. So actually, the South Dakota State Library provides databases, and I don't know the exact number, but I think it's over 50 databases that are available throughout the state. And most of them, they have like a geo tracking or geo fencing. So if you're within the border of South Dakota, you can access these things without having a library card. So check that out sometime. State Library, South Dakota State Library. They have oh, you're testing me here. They do have, what's the big one that you just said?
Like with genealogy, like
Yeah,
finding your when your grandparents.
yeah. They have ancestry.com, but it's the ancestry one you have to access within a library, but you can get to that for free.
Can
And
you
then
do
there's,
you have census records? Is that
yep.
something that filters into the libraries eventually?
Yeah, that's one of the database things that you can access to that way. Um, One thing that we did recently at our library is we have a little room here that has all the microfilm reels from the newspapers locally here since they started in like 1886 or something like that.
Wow.
And we just this last year received a grant so that we could digitize all of those microfilm reels.
But it's not
Um,
as cool as going clickety 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 on the microfiche.
but you know what is cooler is that you can search things now. So, you know, sometimes people would spend hours and hours and weeks in there trying to find certain things, which is cool because you run across things you didn't expect to find.
Right.
But if you are doing some serious research, it does help to have that search component there now. But you're welcome to use the old microfilm too if you want to. So,
I love those scenes in any movie where they're like they run into a library and the librarian's like, "What are you doing?" And they're like flipping through all the microfiche and all this. And I'm like, that was real, millennials. That was real.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Is it still a rule to be quiet in the library?
No, I think that's still a pretty common misconception. And we I think especially a lot of libraries do this, but I feel like our library, we've really focused a lot more on programming more recently. And when I say more recently, like the last 10, 20 years, it's more
Yeah.
focused on programming. And so when you have 30 preschoolers in here for story time, there's no such thing as like, shh, it's fun,
Right.
3 and 4 year olds, and they're dancing and singing and making art projects and things like that. We, you know, we don't want people just like running through the
Yeah,
stacks
it's not
screaming.
a rave.
Yeah.
It's not, as soon as you see somebody with glow sticks, I'm sure you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Well, so speaking of that, we do some after hours teen events, and one
Ooh,
of their favorite things to do is play capture the flag in the dark. So we do have glow sticks and running in the library for the teen after hours events, and those have been very popular. So things that you wouldn't
I was gonna
think
say
of
that
libraries long ago.
the cranky old lady in me is going, what?
Well, you should come sometime and
Is
see
it
how
the
much
one
fun
that have
they have.
running doors?
Yeah, in the
Oh my
dark
goodness.
too. Yeah.
It's all fun and games until someone pokes out an eye with a glow stick. And then the librarian would be like, first aid, aisle 4.
Yep. Yep. We've got a solution for that. So,
What is the section in your library? Speaking of that, of like nonfiction, fiction, whatever. What is the most neglected section in your library that you wish more people came in and said, "Where do I find this?"
that is a really good question. I like that question. Um, I would say nonfiction is more is less used than just the general fiction. And I feel like there are so many interesting books in nonfiction that people just don't even know to look for. So I feel like I wish more people just kind of browsed the nonfiction area, because there's just such resources, but also just such random things in there sometimes that are
Mm-hmm.
super interesting, but you just wouldn't necessarily think to ask for.
Right.
Um, we at our library, we keep new books on our end caps for the first 6 months that we own them. And so that's a fun way too to come in and see what's new in the different sections. But um, I guess I can't even think off the top of my head something that would be there. But that's what I would recommend to anyone. Just go browse. Even if you come in knowing exactly what you want, take some time to just browse and see if you can find a treasure there.
I think sometimes people associate the phrase nonfiction with research specific or news, and that's not always the case. Nonfiction can be reading for fun.
Hmm.
There's nonfiction things. That's probably where you could randomly learn about the life cycle of a gray squirrel. There's nonfiction things that can be reading for pleasure.
Yep.
Definitely.
Um, there's a lot of stories about history and biographies that are very interesting, and we have biographies about just about anybody you could think of. And sometimes those stories are fascinating to just learn about somebody's life. But
Hmm.
also, in nonfiction, we have cookbooks, and there's always like something new and interesting to see there. We have crafting books. So, I mean, that's not necessarily something you'd read from cover to cover, but there's just something new that you can
Right.
try in those. So,
Right. What is your personal favorite go-to book?
that's a good question too. I really like to kind of keep trying different things, but I do like historical fiction, and I like just fiction and women's fiction, just talking about, you know, realistic everyday lives and the struggles that people have. Um, Somebody once told me that I like to read sad books, but I feel like then they make you really feel something, and there's more
Right.
discussion and stuff there. So
Right.
I guess I like sad books sometimes, but I do a lot of fiction, and I do a lot of ebook or audiobooks. So I can get audiobooks on my phone. And so like if I'm cooking dinner or getting ready in the morning, I have an audiobook on, and that's a great way to kind of grow your reading list for the year without having to stop everything and sit down and read.
I think too, and I'm one of these people. I I think there's a lot of people that read at a very young age and in our area because there's not a lot to do in the Midwest in the winter. So I think there's a lot of people that start reading at a very young age. And they always say if you hear someone use a word correctly but pronounce it wrong, they probably learned it by reading it, not by
Mhm.
hearing it. And I think that audiobooks can help with that. I know I have read books myself and then also listened to the audiobook later. And that context of hearing the sound of the words in addition to it. What do you guys offer any literacy, especially outreach for adult literacy?
Um, well, we do book clubs, so we have that offer here, and we don't facilitate those, but we have different groups that meet here. So that's available. We've done writing groups in the past, and we've had authors come in, things like that. So in October, we're going to have a discussion about the One Book South Dakota,
Oh yeah,
and I don't know if you have that title in front of you, but
I
um,
don't. I don't because we're going to encourage everybody to go look it up right
yeah,
now.
there you go, there you go. Um, so every year there's a selection made for One Book South Dakota, and we just want to encourage as many people in the state as possible to read the same book and then have discussions about it. So it's kind of a big statewide book club. And we have that coming up in October that we're going to have a discussion about that. So different
That's
things
awesome.
like that too.
That's awesome. What do you guys do things like what's some examples of other things throughout the year? I know you talked about September is library sign up month. I know some libraries do a blind date with a book for like Valentine's, things like that. What are some other like fun sort of self-contained little and I don't know how to put it, advertising. What are some other fun thematic things that your library does throughout the year?
So another thing coming up soon is Banned Book Week. So we really, during that time, really celebrate the freedom to read, and we believe in having a wide range, variety of books available for people to access. So for Banned Book Week, we kind of feature some of those books that have been challenged or banned more regularly, and just celebrate the fact that we have them here, we offer them to people, and if that's something you need in your life, it's here for you. And, ironically, I feel like a lot of times when books are challenged or banned, it makes people more interested in wanting to read them.
Right, right.
So, um, that's a little thing that we do, and just kind of always have fun displays and just focus on the freedom to read.
I feel like you should have one a display that says these books are R rated. And then all the kids will want to check them out. And when they're like, this is just a normal book, you can be like, yeah, the R is for read.
That's a good idea.
What did you think it was, Timmy?
Yeah.
What were you looking for?
Yeah. We've done a display before that says something like, "Have you read any good books lately?" But it's RED, and all the books have red
Titles
covers
or the
on them.
covers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's always kind of fun, and I feel like librarians like being punny sometimes too.
Yes.
So we try to come up with
Yes.
those fun displays.
Yes, I love reading and I love the concept of what the library I feel like of all American institutions, libraries have stayed true to the mission. You know, schools and public education has changed and become a battleground and religion and different types of faith backgrounds and churches have for some people become a battleground and people even fight over where we can put public swimming pools, but libraries, the mission is the same. Get your butt in here and read a book.
Yes.
Like the mission has remained true.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and I think, especially in our world today, there's still some of that kind of tries to seep into the library world with things like book challenges and book banning and things like that. But I feel like the library is and always will be a place for everybody.
mhm.
And, we welcome everybody of all ages. There's not very many places where you can go and spend the whole day and not spend any money if you want
Right.
to.
Right.
Um, and so,
And have
yeah,
the people that are there be excited you stayed all day.
yeah,
Like if you do that at a McDonald's, I can guarantee you that is not unlimited free refills. At some point, they'll tell you to get away from the Coke fountain pop.
yeah,
I'm not saying that that's happened to me, but that could maybe have happened to me. There's that's not a thing of where people get excited if you utilize their resources for free all day. But
right.
in your world, you'd be like, we're rock stars today. We gave that person 8 hours of joy.
Yes.
What are your library hours? When is it available?
So after Labor Day, which is coming up real fast here, we'll be open from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And then we're open 9 to 5 Friday and Saturday. And we have some Sunday afternoon hours from 1 to 5. So during the summer, we lessen our hours a little bit just because there's people are out and about and there's a lot more going
Right,
on.
right,
But from Labor Day to Memorial Day, we have those extended hours.
right. Because yeah, there's a lot less outdoorsy stuff to do. For anybody not from South Dakota watching this, basically from October to May, there's a good shot we have to shovel. And
Yeah.
so that's another reason that young people and teenagers should get a library card, because when your mom says get out and shovel, you can be like, I can't, I got a date with the library, I gotta go.
I have
And
this really great book that I need to finish.
right,
Librarians told me they need it back, so
right.
yeah.
What do you guys do? I know one of the things in the world, people talk about this with the little free libraries. Like if you're taking a book to the little free library to donate to your community, there are some books that it's not appropriate. If it's an outdated, like technical manual that's of no use to no one. I know we all feel like it's sacrilege to change or destroy a book. We do. We even people that don't read are like, you can't destroy a book. When your books have aged out for whatever reason, particularly like when you think about manuals and educational things where there's newer, more accurate versions or things like that, what happens to old library books?
That's a good question. So we have a Friends of the Library group here. And so they take actually donations from anybody that wants to donate. And we ask, just basic things like we don't want them to be water damaged or dirty. We can't take big encyclopedia sets, mostly just because we don't have the space for them.
Right.
But they take donations from the public all the time and they kind of sort through and even though we have those requirements, we do still sometimes get things that are musty or
Hmm.
damaged or dirty and they dispose of those. Um, but our friends group actually is also working with Better World Books. I don't know if you are
I have
familiar with
not.
them. So if it's a book that they don't want to keep here for their own book sale, and sometimes that's because maybe they've had it out for 3 or 4 book sales already and it hasn't sold and they just don't have the space to keep everything, they can scan it and Better World Books automatically will say if they want it or not. And Better World Books sells used books online and then they give part of that profit back to the libraries that are sending them the books.
Oh, so they can maybe move it to a region where people are seeking that book. Everybody here's read it, but we know people over here, over there haven't
Yep.
been exposed to it yet
Yep.
or are seeking a copy.
Yeah. And I know that's one thing the friends have said to us here is like it seems like they're getting the same books over and over. We maybe people buy them and then they donate them back to us or we have a batch that we don't use and we donate it somewhere else and then they donate it somewhere else and it kind of
Because
trickles
there
off.
are times where there's bursts of book, like Oprah and her book club. Okay,
Yep.
every blogger mommy across the United States that watched Oprah is going to book club this together.
Yep.
And now we have all these copies of this book and we're done with them. But so does the people that would be interested in that book all got it that day too.
Yeah.
So they can kind of the
Redistribute.
market is flooded.
Yep.
So
Yep. So they work with Better World Books and then if Better World Books doesn't sell them within a certain amount of time, they recycle them there. So that's a really great program that they've started using just in the last couple of years. And so that has helped with our limited space here and it's helped kind of move those books around like you said, redistribute to areas that maybe they haven't had those titles and there's a bigger need
right.
for them. Um, We have donated it to other organizations, like we have a nursing home here in town, so we've given books to them that they can refresh their bookshelves and things like that. We've brought things to some of the little free libraries. Like we try to distribute as much as we can. There are books that do go in the dumpster sometimes, that's
Mhm.
just part of the library
Right, because they
world.
books break down. They
Yep,
do. They lose. They're not made of brick.
yep,
Books break
yep,
down. Pages tear. Things get worn.
yep,
Well-loved books get highlighted and dog tagged, and so yeah, books break down. I love that you work with somebody that recycles what they can.
yep,
I don't think people realize not all of them are actually still able to be recycled. Sometimes
right.
they're already in a breaking down phase where they can't be. Do you guys ever work with anybody that crafts with books and wants that? I actually do a lot of collage stuff with book pages. I get a lot of old books that are outdated and I collage with the words.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this, but
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool.
I did not make this one, but there is there's a lot of cool art that can be done with books that you no longer need. So we have done a few programs here at the library where we make book sculptures or we do different things with that. Or you can take the pages out and make cutouts or different things like that. We have made a Christmas tree last year that used a lot of old book pages. We did like the circle links. I
Yeah, the
keep going the wrong way
snowflakes
with
and
the camera.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. My
Um,
friend Thea has a business called Quirks, and that's what they like, the old Reader's Digest books that everybody has too many of them. Like I have one that there's a shamrock cut out of it and things like that, and different things with book covers because the books were, they're not being read anymore,
yep.
and they get a new life that way. So
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, that's always, I feel like it pops up every once in a while as a big controversy that there were books found in a dumpster. But I mean, that's a real practical part of the library world.
mhm.
And having limited space. And when you have books that haven't been checked out for 8 years and you try to sell
Right.
them and no one buys them, like you eventually you have to get rid of them in one way or another. So I think librarians are very I don't know if thrifty is the right word, but
Right.
very um sensitive to and thoughtful about like how can we
There's
get this book to people as much as we can, but then there's a
Right.
certain
There's
point where it
there's
just
a
has to go.
reverence. There's a
Yep.
reverence for what it means to have these words on a page and in a thing that you can physically hold and gift to someone else,
Hmm.
and re-gift and give on. And but yeah, there's a point where about all you can do is throw them through a shredder and use it as mulch, and that's not a bad way. Grow a tree,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So
You made me think of two other displays that we have done here before. We've had a display called Books from the Bottom Shelf. And so we've pulled books that people haven't read for a while and they're shelved on the bottom shelf, and we put them up on a display just to kind of give them
eye
a little
level
more.
matters. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And we've also talked about doing this fall, having the staff pick books they hated. So I'm kind of excited for that. I think it's going to be kind of like a banned book thing where people are going to want to read those books, even
Right.
though they were books that we did not like. Or maybe people will just commiserate with us and say, yes, I also did not like that book. But we still keep them and have them on our shelves because there's different books for everybody. So,
Do you guys do any events with local authors or South Dakota authors?
yeah. We've done the last couple years an author event in November. We're kind of in talks right now if we're going to do that again this year, but we gathered, I think, probably about 15 local authors, and it's amazing how many people, I don't want to say come out of the woodwork, but how many authors there are locally that you don't even realize have published something. So
Right.
we've had where they can bring their books in, and we have tables set up around the library so people could go and purchase their books and get a book signed, things like that. We do some regular book talks and book signings for
How do you
specific
find
authors
them?
too.
How do you find the local authors? Do you just put like a call out for submissions?
Yep, we have done that, but also a lot of them seek out the libraries. They know the libraries are places that are going to support them and support what they're doing. And so a lot of authors seek us out and ask if they can have a book signing. So that's a way we find a lot of people, a lot of authors and programs that we do actually are things that people bring to us or recommend to us. So,
Very cool.
mhm.
Well, as we're wrapping up here in the last few minutes, as a librarian in South Dakota, is there any one South Dakota related book or topic that you think everyone who is a resident should read?
Oh man, you are testing my brain today. I honestly, I can't think of one off the top of my head, and I feel like that's a librarian fail. But um, we always kind of joke about we read stuff all the time, and when people ask us for certain titles, it's
Too,
like, oh,
too
I can't
many
think
things
of.
come flying through your brain, and you're like, how do I pick?
Yeah, it's like I can't think of a single title of a single book right now. But, I think the one book South Dakota selections have been great. Actually, now I think of that, Neither Wolf Nor Dog. I don't know if you've read that one.
Mm-mm.
That was one of our one book South Dakota titles a few years ago. And there's also a movie about that book, and that was really wonderful. And it was just kind of talking about the different experiences that people have with uh, I can't even like really clearly explain the book right now, but it just kind of brought you into that world and gave you more of an idea of other people's lives and what they experience. So that was one that I know often I can't tell you what a book is about, but I can tell you how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And that was one that I would highly recommend.
What's an example of a book that became a movie and you liked the movie better than the book? Usually it goes the other way. People are like, the movie ruined it. But
Yeah.
what's one where you're like, oh, that movie, that nailed it?
Well, something just recently, our staff book club read the book The Circle, and I believe the author is Dave Eggers, I believe. And a lot of people in the book club did not like the book, but then our book club watched the movie, and the movie was much better. So that was one, I guess, off the top of my head that I know of. So
That's so unusual that you
yeah,
even came up with them that fast. Everybody's like, no, it's never better than the book. It's never. Unless I usually find unless I saw the movie before the book and I would be like, oh, I like the movie. Now I want to read the book. And then be like, well, those are two different things. But if
yeah,
I've read the book, I'm like, no, the movie is no, nothing.
yeah.
So
They're often different. I kind of see them as different art forms. I try not to compare them too much
right,
because it's like the book was good, the movie was good, but they weren't the same thing, you know? But
right.
yeah, so
What is one thing you can think of that when people describe either your community library specifically or community libraries in general that that they tell people or they say about the library and they feel it is fact, but they're getting it wrong?
mm. You have so many good questions. I'm very impressed by you.
I just make
Um,
them up as I go along.
so one thing I will say to you, if you ever want to apply to a job at a library, you should not come in and say, I want to work at a library because I would like to work in a quiet place where I can just sit and read all day.
Oh,
Um, I feel like that is something we hear over and over. Um, and I want to tell those people you need to spend more time in the library. But I feel like I've never sat down to read a book while I've been at work. I can tell you that. We love people that read and enjoy books, but that's not what
it's
working
a
in a
very
library is
physical
about.
job. It's
Yep.
a moving people, moving books, moving shelving. It's a much probably more physical job than the general public realizes.
Yeah.
Maybe not every single day, but some part of every day. And some days are probably aggressively. I would not want to be the restocker. That's a lot of,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is. I mean, we have books right along the floor, and we have books that you might have to step on a step stool to get to. So that part of it is physical. And I feel like um, a lot of customer service, you never know who's going to walk through the door and what kind of questions they're going to ask. So you have to kind of be able to think on your feet. You have to be friendly. You have to be accepting of all different kinds of people and backgrounds and abilities. And, the books are just a bonus, I think. They're a great bonus, but I think the people are really the most important part of the library.
Awesome. I want to end on that statement. That's an awesome statement. And the people on both sides of the counter, the
Yes.
librarians and the readers, the
Yes.
coming together of the minds.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Dana, I thank you so much. In September, I'm going to make it my mission to promote everybody getting a library card at their community libraries. Please help me find other librarians. Someday I want to do this as a panel with multiple librarians, and I hit you all with questions at once.
That would be awesome.
And maybe start a librarian battle. We'll see your supremacy. But yes, thank you for helping me check this off my bucket list of interviews.
Yes.
I've had lots of politicians say, well, I'll do it. I know a lot about my district or whatever. And I'm like, but do you know a librarian? Can you get me a librarian? And they get so sad. They're like, fine.
Yep. They're a great resource to have. Everyone should know a librarian. So,
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to sign you off. Have a great day in the library.
yes, thanks for having me.
Let's see. Bye, Dana. Oh, that's a good watch. And now there's a lot of things for you to Google. Your own community library, how you can help kids get to your community library, how you can find some banned books. Truly something maybe rated R. Find it. I want to hear what your favorite banned book is and why. And I also want to hear about how did you find out, did you pick it up because it was banned, or did later on, did you realize, oh, I've been reading this and loving it all along, and now somebody doesn't like it? Why? I find the way book banning is going in the United States right now is kind of hilarious how it affects all of us. But definitely read a book and read a book to someone else and read out loud as much as you can. So thank you so much. I'm still looking for more and more volunteers all across South Dakota. I want to talk to mechanics, hairstylists, bartenders, grocery store clerks. I want to hear all about your community. Hit me up, 605speaks.com. Let's do it. Everybody have a great rest of your day.